Hey guys, if you're watching, welcome back. For people who don't know, this channel, Man Alive, is all about cold approach, teaching guys how to learn cold approach, how to execute, why it works, and the history of it as well, right? Because that's all part of it. In this episode, we're going to discuss patience. There are, by the way, if you're looking for cold approach coaching specifically, right? If you're looking for phone coaching, video conference coaching, group coaching, one-on-one private sessions, feel free to send an application or drop me a message at Shaka Piankowski, Wix site, Man Alive. I'll send the link. I'll put the link in there for anybody who does want. Uh, you know, if any of those coaching styles fit for you, or just to see if we do fit, right, as coach and client, because sometimes it doesn't exactly fit. Go check out the link, Shaka Piankowski, Wix site, Man Alive. And I have a course coming up about Cocky Funny, a very small course about how to use Cocky Funny to enhance your interactions, how to use it in early to mid set, because it's really best used then. You can use it during other times, right, at the latter end of the set, but it really hits hard. It's a way for you to get your point across, intent, as they say, or premise, without giving away too much power. And it works. It's fun for both you and her. So I'll also drop a link to that. The early signups for people who are interested. You can send a message, send an email, and I'll get in touch with you for that. So today's video is about patience, patience in field. I found out this the hard way, right? I'm in cold approach 18 years. So I've been doing it for 18 years. Long time. When I started, I thought that I was going to do this in 2 years. That I was going to hop in and hop out and get everything I wanted and be as good as I wanted to be, right? I was going to do it the fast way. So the fast way just meant working like a dog. I went out for 2.5 years. I went out every single day, rain or shine, whether I was sick or healthy, and did a minimum of 4 approaches. My main goal, my primary goal was 7, but there are tons of days and nights because I did both lounges and bars and clubs and running around on the street. But tons of days where I just did 4, and some days where I just did 1. For example, I used to get bad sinus headaches years ago, so I barely be able to see anything. My head is throbbing, can't see anything, and I still went out and approached multiple times. I've done that. Couldn't even see the girl, really, and I still did it. But I say that to say that I was trying to rush the process. I was trying to push forth in a way that was not conducive to my learning. Because in the learning process can't be skipped. It can't be shortened. All right? You can learn from other people, but that does not excuse you from making your necessary mistakes. Right? And there's a necessary quota of mistakes that everybody has to make, no matter what. It doesn't matter what I tell you. It doesn't matter what you learn from me or anyone else. You must make these mistakes. There's no other way around them. And there are a lot of guys actually like me. Not too long on a forum, I saw a guy who did 1,000 approaches in a week, right? Completely new, brand new. And he was like, well, I haven't mastered it in a week. What's going on? What am I doing wrong? The harsh truth is that it takes a set amount of approaches, right? over a long enough period, a long enough, consistent enough period for you to then see what you're doing right, see what you're doing wrong, to edit and change, and to get results further down the stretch. When you try to push forward with, with massive action, overly massive action, taking action is good. Having a bias towards action is good. Taking massive action is incredible. But when you try to take massive action to shortcut actual learning, this is when you run into trouble, because there's no way to do that. There's absolutely no way to do that. You will end up actually lengthening the learning curve for yourself. In my specific case, when I tried to rush through it in 2.5 years, ended up burning out. I didn't take care of myself physically, and mentally I was depressed and upset and pissed off, everything in between. And it actually took me much longer to get back in the saddle of things, years upon years, to get back in the saddle of things normally, to where I was actually seeing some of the results that I wanted to see. The reason being is because I was pushing too hard. I didn't take care of myself at all, right? Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I was just pushing. And when you push like that, there's a part of it that is a faith issue, that you actually do not believe that if you don't push, you're going to get there. That's why you push. That's why you keep pushing and you keep overdoing it, right? But on the other hand, you don't get to learn. You need space. You need space in between sessions for you to study what you're doing, for you to map out accurate experiments. Like if you come up with a new line, for example, or if you're learning how to physically escalate, or if you're practicing certain things on the dates that you have, you need time in between experiments to see what's going on. If you just keep ramming your head against the same wall, you're not paying attention to what's going on. So you do not want to crowd yourself with activity. A lot of activity is good, but to crowd yourself with activity is a sign of impatience. And that's something to be worked on. In the example of results, this is a result-oriented field. Everybody gets in to get the girls that they want in the situations that they want, and that's understandable. But there's a lot of guys who think that these results will happen immediately. I always tell my students that it's going to take minimum 2 years for you to start seeing decent results. And the reason I say this, a lot of people hoot and holler and do backflips and flip out. What the hell are you saying? Blah, blah, blah. The reason why I say this is because, one, to engender patience, right? You do need to be patient. But if you expect too much too soon, and what you expect doesn't happen, your chances of quitting are very, very high. It's very likely that you will say, man, what the hell is the point of doing this, anymore? And you'll just disappear. You'll never do another approach again, right? If you go out with the intention of getting a girl first day and it doesn't happen, what happens? You feel terrible. You carry that into the second day. You go out, it doesn't happen again. You feel twice as terrible. After a certain amount of time, after a certain period of time, you'll stop taking action, because and it's not because cold approach doesn't work. Your expectations are way too high. You're expecting too much to happen too soon, too quickly. And you're shooting yourself in the foot. This is why I do not like when people get on there saying, oh, well, you're going to take a girl home your first day and your first approach. Like, man, one, that's highly improbable. I don't care if you run around in a bar or a club or streets or museum, I don't care where it is. It's highly unlikely. It's extremely unlikely. And it actually might hurt you, because if you something like that happens and you expect it to be easy, which I have had friends who that has happened to before, what happens is your expectation to be easy, for it to be easy, is nonsense, because it's not. And you're going to get killed in the subsequent sessions, right? You're going to get slaughtered, and you're going to be like, why the hell did I do this? You know, like, it makes no sense for me to even approach, because again, it could, having a result like that turn out that way can engender the wrong expectation. And if you have the wrong expectation, it's going to kill your patience with the learning process. And it's going to remove your process focus, your process orientation, and turn it into results orientation. And results is something, to be honest, even after 18 years, you got to be honest, you cannot control. You can't control it. You know, this is like, I liken cold approach to business, right? As opposed to a job. There's two ways that people primarily make money, right? Either having a business or a job. A job is something you show up, you're guaranteed a paycheck. You guaranteed something. You know, they're giving you what they promised you in the interview. At a business, you're not guaranteed anything. There's nothing coming to you. If you don't do what you have to do, and business is a process of processes, if you don't learn those processes, if you don't master those processes, you have no income. Nothing's coming. Nothing. And cold approach is the same way. If you don't master the process of processes, approaching, conversation, flirting, physically escalating, all of those are processes. If you don't master those, nothing's coming. There are no girls coming. None. Zero. And so understanding that, you need to be patient and be process focused so that you learn correctly, which will lead to results down the stretch. Because otherwise, you're hurting yourself by being in. So anybody watching this video, I would like you to, presumably I'm expecting most people to be new to this, to be beginners, to set a reasonable time frame for any results that you want. I don't care if it's a girl, one night stand, whatever it is, I don't care. Reasonable expectations. And to be process focused. Focus on doing every single thing in every single interaction perfectly, as perfect as you can. Because you're building positive momentum, you're moving in the right direction. I didn't explain the second thing that having smaller expectations, right? Being more patient in your expectations does. It allows you to celebrate small wins. When you're patient and you celebrate everything as a win, right? A girl talking to you is a win. You approaching successfully, correctly is a win. You having a 2-minute conversation is a win. You getting a number, whether she texts you back or not, is a win. Everything is a win. When that happens, you're building positive mental reinforcement, positive emotion, right? It becomes a windfall. It's a snowball. It's an avalanche effect. It builds on itself. As opposed to if you expect too much and it doesn't happen, well, then you feel like shit. You feel terrible. And when that multiplies, you end up leaving. But if you take everything as a win, if you take everything as a positive, you build positive momentum and you end up keeping yourself in check, going in the right direction. And when that happens, if you can keep that orientation, process focus, celebrating every single positive thing as a small win, there's no way you will not eventually end up where you want to end up. But you have to keep those in mind, right? Cold approach is a process of processes. And at any time, if you switch to results orientation, like most of the community is, that's why most of the community has no skill and gets no girls. That's just the truth. They're not skilled, and they're not good enough, and they get no girls. And then they go to online because you don't have to be that good online. You fix up a profile and send some messages, and things will happen. You don't have to be that good. Out here, you have to be that good. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. So the word of the day is patience, applied to cold approach. Practice it. Remember, lower your expectations. Treat everything as a small win. Give yourself a reasonable time frame to achieve what you want to achieve. Make it longer than you want to make it. Let's say if you want to be a master in 5 years, make it 10. You might surprise yourself, because if you tend to learn faster and you tend to learn more, absorb more when you are process focused, which means you'll probably make leaps and bounds in what you can do, as opposed to the other way. Being centered, being obsessed, doggedly determined with results. I hope this helped. I hope you can apply it into your own journey. Again, if you're anybody looking for coaching, send me a message, email me, check out the link, Shaka Piankowski at Wix site, Man Alive. Anybody interested in the Cocky Funny course, small course, teaching you how and why to use it, and giving you examples, ways that it will absolutely 100% transform your interactions. Though you can also check that out in the links below as well. And until next time, keep approaching.